Let's talk about another elephant in the room right now, and that comes in the Big Five in Philadelphia tonight because at Hagan Arena, St. Joseph's beats Villanova 83-76. Get this. It is the second consecutive year that St. Joe's has defeated Villanova. You'd have to go back to, Phil Martelli and 20 years ago. Those teams, Jameer Nelson and company, getting it done for St. Joe's. Delonte West for St. Joe's. That's the last time Villanova was losing back-to-back years to St. Joe's. Villanova has now lost 4 consecutive Big Five games. Those have come to St. Joe's, Drexel, Penn. The point, Kyle Neptune is now 2-2. He has lost to Columbia, and now he's lost to St. Joe's. What is the panic mode now at Villanova, Jeff, and what do you make of this situation right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad saying this because I really like Kyle, and he obviously had a difficult task following Jay Wright. But I think this is the beginning of the end. I just don't know how he's going to dig out of this. With these losses in the non-conference, you're going to have to finish in the top 3 in the Big East. How are you going to do that with that roster? You're not. And again, Villanova was the best program in America while Jay Wright was there for those last 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And now they've turned it into a program that, again, they're like 500 in his tenure now overall. I just don't know. I don't know how. I don't envision a scenario where Kyle Neptune, unfortunately, is the coach next year. I just don't know how they're going to turn it around.
What I'll say is this, and I don't disagree with you. Like, the results seem like they're trending in the wrong direction, right? And if you don't win as a coach, you don't have a job. Like, it's that's just the way that it works. But I will say, I think that replacing Jay Wright at Villanova is the most difficult, following a legend that you can have. I think it's more difficult than North Carolina. I think it's more difficult than
K.
Because
wait a minute, we debated a couple years ago.
Listen, because Duke.
We debated this topic, and Jeff told me K was harder.
No, because Duke can recruit itself, though. You can still get the guys.
The pressure, though. The pressure,
you can still get the guys at North Carolina. At Villanova, replacing Jay, the reason Villanova was successful under Jay Wright was, 1, because of the culture that he developed.
True.
And 2, because his system was all about player development and guys getting taught how to play the Villanova way. Like, they didn't run sets. They didn't run plays. They had concepts, and what he did was he taught these dudes how to play because he was as good of a teacher of the game as we've ever seen in college basketball, ever, point blank period. And asking Kyle to come in and try to replicate that culture and try to replicate that level of player development and try to replicate that level of, like, teaching guys how to play basketball the way he wants them to play it's just an impossible task. And you're not going to be able, like, with North Carolina, like, you're going to have, it's the North Carolina brand. It's Jordan. It's all of that. Like, there's something about those two programs that recruit themselves because of the star power, because of Nike, because of, like.
But it's changed with NIL, and he had NIL a year ago.
It has, and
so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not sitting here like trying to. I'm not sitting here.
$3 million last year, not this year.
I don't think. I'm not trying to defend Kyle Neptune. I'm not saying like, like you guys are wrong for criticizing. No, like this is what you get when you're coaching.
It's a brutal job.
I just think
I'll add this. I'm not an advocate.
He had a chance.
I'm not an advocate for guys in 3 years with a young coach. I think, in fairness, I would say it needs to be 4. The problem is that was a national champion. That was UConn before UConn today.
Yeah.
That's what that program was. So he's a victim of the success of that program, right? It was a blue blood in a sense.
And you knew what you were getting yourself into.
And now the one thing I push back on what you said, Rob, is he's a product of that. He's not changing anything. So that part, the development, that shouldn't change. That should still be there. The other programs, I thought Hubert changed the system of Carolina. He went away and was able to do that. Shire has done things his way. He's shaking things up. This, and I guess I'm wrong, but the transition with Kyle should have been seamless because it's the
he was
same.
Only gone for a year, by the way.
And
he was only gone for a year.
It's supposed to be the same thing, right? And so my question is, again, has the NIL dried up and it's a product of that? Because if that's part of it, then it wouldn't matter even if Jay Wright was still there. Villanova would be the Villanova that
I would make
the
the argument that NIL and the transfer portal and the fact that he had all of these guys come in for 1 year is part of the problem for when you're trying to build a program based off of player development, based off of culture, based off of all that. You have all of these new faces coming in that are here for like a year.
But he's not the only one dealing with it.
No, I know. And I don't like, maybe he's not cut out for the job, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I don't know how he could have stepped into that role.
Well, there was nobody else. That was the problem. They wanted to keep it in the family. There wasn't
and
really
rightfully
anybody
so.
else.
And Jay obviously had something. It's like all these guys, all these legendary coaches. Even, we talked about with Autry even at Syracuse. The coaches had something to say with these guys. So there's a belief there in these guys, and they deserve it, rightfully so.
Yes.
So again, whatever it isn't working to start. Let's hope he can figure this out as the season goes on.
It's going to be hard in the Big East this year, too, because there aren't going to be quite as many resume wins this year.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? So, like, if you don't do it in the non-conference.
There's also not a clear bottom. You're in the bottom.
Yeah, you may be. You're not that far off because, again, DePaul's gotten better.
Georgetown's better.
Better.
DePaul won 3 games all last year. They actively quit.
Yeah.
They were done by January 1. They were literally in the Bahamas. Here's the thing. You can't lose 4 straight Philly Big 5 games. You can't.
No.
You can't be losing to St. Joe's back-to-back years with Drexel.
Columbia at home.
And Columbia at home. You lost to Portland in his first season.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing. You're judged on wins and losses. It's Villanova.
Yeah.
This is not like, let's just be real here. In that league, this is not DePaul, Butler, or Seton Hall. There's a standard there. They were 264 and 53 over Jay's last 9 years.
And they had the talent, man. Like, you had Cam Whitmore, you had Eric Dixon.
You had talent.
Like, last year's roster was a top 15 or 20 roster in America.
You can't, to your point, I liken it to a restaurant that had everybody's been to that family-owned restaurant where the dad ran the restaurant for years. Unfortunately, the dad, might have retired or he passed away, and then the family kind of keeps it in the family and tries to do it the same exact way, and then you taste the food and you're like, this isn't what I grew up loving. They got to go outside the family for the next hire. There's no way they can stay in it. There's nobody
left. I mean, and again, Kyle had done it for 1 year at Fordham. He had done it for 1 year. He'd done a nice job in that one season. And
a really good year.
Again,
I thought he was the right hire. For whatever reason, the results are not there.
I did too.
He's a young coach. This season isn't over. Let's hope he can figure it out. But I don't think they've shown any confidence. There's no reason for anybody to be confident that this thing will get turned around.
Can I just say, shout out to St. Joe's for getting the win. Like, that is a big win for them. Big win for them.